Next on BBC One we have a party election broadcast by the Scottish Green Party. Just wanted to make that clear, because otherwise you might have thought it was just another one of our fair, balanced and unbiased documentaries. So over to our friends at the Green Party.
I'm not going to waste my vote. Not on any more heel-dragging or empty promises. I'm with the people who, although few, have been on it. Who put our environment over big business. Our native mountain hares over the wealth of lairds, and stopped the money-grabbing hands that planned to turn Loch Lomond's iconic beauty into luxury resort tickets.
Though few, the whole media, political, educational, commercial establishment is right behind you. You value the environment over big business. Okay, protecting the environment, good. But is it just big business you're opposed to? Is it really about protecting the environment, or is it actually about anti-capitalism? Okay, the Loch Lomond development, I'm sure it'd be good for business, good for jobs. You've got to balance that with conservation. I haven't looked into it. I don't really know. But what about the Loch Lomond lochside partiers that make a huge mess routinely on the shoreline? No mention of those, probably because they're in the Green Party's target demographic. So we're left with the impression that maybe the real agenda is anti-capitalist. Right, mountain hares over the wealth of lairds. Now the Green Party managed to get something pushed through the Scottish Parliament protecting mountain hares from the sort of land management culls that used to take place. Here's a response to that from people involved in that actual process. Mountain hares are thriving on Scotland's moors and their fate will not be improved by this vote. There is clear evidence that the control of hares helps combat tick and Lyme disease and protect plants and young trees. Balanced wildlife management is key to meeting Scottish Government targets on biodiversity and tree planting. So the mountain hares were doing fine after centuries of traditional land management. So again, what's the real agenda here? Is it that the lairds are rich? Is it hostility to the wealthy? Well, on that front, you've seen nothing yet.
I'm with the people who are fighting for our kids and who won free bus travel for our young people.
Free bus travel? Is that the best you've got? How about the right to be born? The right to be brought up by mother and father? The right to remain uncorrupted by degrading sex education? The right to an education to fulfil one's true potential? The right not to be confused about gender and sexuality by school? The right to a safe and orderly school environment? The right to form opinions free from state indoctrination? The right to grow up in an environment free from illegal drugs? Free bus travel? Not impressed.
So they can get to the future they deserve with the exam results they've earned. Not some postcode lottery where income defines outcome.
Income defines outcome? Well, that could be talking about this year's exam fiasco, where teacher predictions were used instead of actually sitting the exam. And the teacher predictions in poorer schools in poorer areas, were grossly inflated. So the government tried to tone them down a bit, but then there was outcry. So eventually these wildly inflated grades were just given to the pupils. But he's not talking about last year. He's talking about the future. So he seems to be saying every year the government needs to scrap an objective examination system and have teacher assessment instead. Because that's the way to close the poverty-related attainment gap. If you want pupils in wealthier schools to get the same as pupils in less wealthy areas, then the way you need to do it is basically abolish any sort of objective examination system and replace it with subjective teacher opinion. So this is the equity mindset. A fair system must produce equality of outcome, not just equality of opportunity, equality of outcome. So as far as the Greens are concerned, young people in poorer areas must get results just as good as those in wealthier areas. So in order to achieve that, you need to rig the system. Step number 1, drop exams. Step number 2, replace them with mushy teacher assessment instead. And then you can solve the non-existent problem, but all credibility of the qualification system is destroyed in the process. Now, in terms of educational theory, this is extremism. But where the Greens lead, the others follow. The SNP, John Swinney, has already started taking steps in this direction.
I'm with the people who get things done.
Correct. The Greens get things done. They know what they believe, they make their case intelligently. Almost everything they say is wrong, but they argue effectively and the massive drifting docile MSPs from the other parties just go with the flow, sooner or later. The Greens run Scotland.
Because I want the kind of politics that skips school on a Friday to strike for our climate, as dire as that necessity is.
Rough translation, hey kids, vote for us. Notice here, no discussion of actual measures to tackle climate change, just an attempt to get the kids on side. It might have been appropriate at this point for her to thank schools for promoting the Green Party's agenda to a generation of children.
Politics that fights ridiculous benefit sanctions. Sustainable, green-fuelled politics with roots in our communities hardest hit by Tory austerity.
Well, of course, no one can defend ridiculous benefit sanctions, but there need to be measures to ensure the integrity of the benefit system. Sustainable, green-fuelled politics. What's that? Sounds like some eco-friendly money-making system to enable the government to spend money like water gushing from a hydroelectric power station. I'm not sure exactly how it works. But hey, we're listening to a poet here, not an economist. While we're on the subject of the narrator, do you recognise her? Do you remember a few months ago the BBC published a little video about a trans person complaining that when they go for a haircut they get asked whether they're male or female? Well, this is the person. I'm going to make a video about her next, so watch out for that. But suffice it to say, the BBC brought her into the public eye because she fits their agenda, and then surprise, surprise, it turns out she's a Green Party supporter.
Politics that acknowledges that tenants need more protection and we have a housing system with urgent repairs needing fixed.
Too right. Our shower pump stopped working the other day and we've got a broken tile on the garage roof. So Scottish Greens, what's the plan? Would I call the council if you were in charge? Tenants need more protection, but you're always pushing things in that direction. Protection for tenants is already very strong. We need to remember that tenants need to actually pay their rent and look after the property as well. Both sides should seek to honour their mutual contract. We want more people to be able to buy their own homes and thereby invest in their own future. Seems like the Greens want to keep people renting while making letting an unsustainable business. But there are more renters than landlords, and maybe the Greens have just done their electoral sums.
People over profit, Robin Hood politics that says help those in need and eat the rich.
Gray, I don't think you can say that.
Sorry. Tax the rich.
Eat the rich. Now that sounds to me like stirring up hatred against the wealthy. Surely this is a hate incident. Come Humza Yousaf's hate speech law, this would be a crime. So let's just check if it is. Let's see if it's covered by the sacred protected characteristics. Age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage, civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation. Wealth's not there. It's okay to hate the rich. Marxist states all over the world have enacted hate speech legislation to protect their favoured minority groups while merrily preaching hatred of the rich. Just like we've got here. Now this advert's been approved by the Green Party hierarchy. You just have to conclude they're not very nice people. These are the people that wave banners saying they're anti-hate campaigners, love conquers all, etc. Now in communist states, people have resorted to cannibalism in several cases through history because of the failures of the state-controlled economy to supply basic foodstuffs. So it's a bit of an own goal for the Greens to draw attention to the disasters visited on humanity by the sort of ideology they espouse. Anyway, vote Green for means-tested cannibalism.
We're the people fighting for not just an independent Scotland, but an independent Scotland that's fairer and greener, where we can make our own decisions about the European Union.
Well, everyone wants a fairer Scotland. Greener. Really drastic measures are already being taken on that front, but it's never enough, of course. If the SNP said we're having electric cars by 2040, the Greens would say by 2030. If the SNP said electric cars by 2030, the Greens would say by 2020. No, sorry, that's this year, isn't it? 2022, that would do. Now, it's interesting, they seem quite non-committal on the EU, maybe an attempt to get some Brexiteers on board. But I really feel it's too late for that. They've taken such a fierce anti-Brexit, pro-EU stance over the years. I think that's a lost cause.
We're the people who are proud of our country's diversity and believe that from the workplace to the streets, discrimination has no place here in Scotland.
no place for discrimination, value diversity, as long as you agree with them. I once did a debate with Patrick Harvie, leader of the Scottish Green Party, and he knows my views on various matters, my sort of socially conservative views. And I said to him in the debate, I'm a teacher, do you think I should be allowed to be a teacher with the views that I have? And he said in as many words, no. Now that was 6 or 7 years ago. Remember, as I say, where the Greens lead, the other parties follow. And now 6 or 7 years later, I'm waiting to be struck off by the General Teaching Council for Scotland for saying that children need a mum and a dad, ideally.
We're the people who, when faced with fellow human beings needing refuge, say, our door is open, the kettle's on.
Everyone needing refuge. What about illegal economic immigrants? What about the situation where wealthier families in poor countries invest in a son by providing passage for him to come to a wealthier country to earn money to send it back to them? Nothing to do with seeking asylum. Is that all okay? Should Britain be taking all asylum seekers, even though they've passed through other safe countries on the way? Do they feel we should just have completely open borders? Probably.
And when we stand together, we have seen the numbers. We are the people who take to the streets with fervour and anger, banter and banners to rebel against our planet's extinction. To chant that our trans siblings should feel safer, that Black Lives Matter. We are the people who demand better from our politicians.
Black Lives Matter, trans rights, climate change. Sounds like the assembly rota at a school near you. But yes, their supporters are activists, and that's one of the reasons why they're running the country.
But for all we petition and lobby, it's with ballot slips and X's. That's where the real protest is. Correct.
Vote for what you believe in. But as a protest, can you not offer a more positive vision than that? Now at this point you might be saying, oh, you're knocking the Greens video here. What have you got to say positive? Well, we've got a similar video to this in the pipeline, so watch this space. See what you think of our version.
And here again of a mother who has to choose between topping up the lecky and food for her kids.
Well, that sounds tough for that mother living in poverty. I mean, I would guess that she's a single mother, and that's not really the ideal setup. We want resilient family units able to care for and provide for themselves where possible. We don't just want to be picking up the pieces. We want to put people on the road to self-sufficiency. Prevention is better than cure. The Greens would say our family strengthening policies, such as promoting marriage, are judgmental and illiberal. That's because they care more about their ideology than they really do about poverty.
We need an alternative. I'm not going to waste my vote, because I think we all know we've wasted too much time as it is.
The Greens know what they believe and make their case strongly, effectively leading the country through a handful of MSPs elected on the regional list system. That's our vision as well. Enough people backed the Scottish Green Party vision to make it happen. You need to back the Scottish Family Party to turn our vision into reality as well. So join the Scottish Family Party right now. There's a link below. Thanks.